Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's the 100th year anniversary of Perdue, and it is the 5th annual summit that we have on animal care. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of you out there, and thanks to everybody who's taken the time today to share this important time with us and let us kind of talk you through the things that we've been doing at Perdue from an animal care standpoint. I do kind of like, and I've done this every year, I kind of like to go back sometimes and kind of tell the history, the genesis of this and how this event started. 5 years ago, small group, just Perdue and some people that we thought that we needed to listen to that had some constructive criticism of what we were doing and maybe some ideas that they had for helping us improve. And a few of us sat there in that room in Ocean City and listened to Paul Willis and Dr. Sarah Shields. Josh Balk was there, Leah Garces. We had a good group that kind of helped us on this journey that we were just starting. And the journey is a real key part of this. That's a word we use a lot when we talk about animal care at Perdue, because the event that happened before the original summit was that we had been caught doing something that some people were critical of relative to animal care. And rather than denying and sort of trying to not pay attention to the really legitimate things that we needed to address, we said, hey, let's learn from this. And Randy and Jim Perdue, Randy Day, gave us permission to go out and to understand how we might start a path of improvement, a journey. And all of you that are on the call today are part of that. And for that, I really appreciate it. So this event is really about what we've been up to. And I know you guys know, look, we normally do this. It takes about a day and a half, and we go to farms and we go to our plants and we go out to Jim and Jan's house and have a meal together and then get really serious and talk for literally a whole day about animal care. So look, just because we've had to adjust the way that we're going to talk about it today doesn't mean that we've done anything to stop the work that we've been doing around our commitment to animal care. So who's here? So you guys can see me. I can't quite see you, but I know who's there. Out there right now are a whole bunch of our Perdue farmers, a whole bunch of customers that we have, a whole bunch of what we call advocates, those people that think every day about how can they make animals' lives better. We've got media, we've got academics, we've got veterinarians, and I got a whole bunch of Perdue people that are actually getting the chance to participate in this event this year as well. So that's super cool. In addition, Jim's on, Randy Day's on, Andrea Staub's on, I got Jeff Trippishin, I got Paul Willis, so a whole bunch of us that are kind of really helping kind of drive this initiative from a leadership standpoint are participating in this today as well. I'll tell you what you're going to see. We're going to talk a little bit about our highlights. We're going to talk about the work that we've been doing for the past year. We're going to tell you the things that we want to get done and are going to work on in the future. And then we're going to do the part that everybody loves. We're going to talk to farmers and we're going to kind of look at what they've been doing and how they are such an important part of this journey that we're on as well. So let me tell you how it's going to work. I like to call this 90 minutes of awesome, but get ready, okay? Because we've got a lot of content that normally takes a long time for us to get through, and we're going to try and package it down a little bit and get it a little bit more concise. So look, make sure you've got your coffee. Don't go to the bathroom. Put the dog out and get ready for this sort of really interesting and fun event that we've got planned for you guys this afternoon. Just a couple of housekeeping things. We're going to have 2 chances for Q&A today. There's going to be one after Bruce's presentation. He and I are going to get back on. We're going to take live questions from you about the content that Bruce has just shared. And then a little bit later, after we do the farmer panel, Mike Levengood and our 6 farmers are going to do open Q&A for you guys as well. So right down there somewhere is a little gold bar, a little gold tab. You can start now if you want to start typing in things about what a great job Mark is doing from an introduction standpoint and ask me questions about that. Fire away. That'll be great. But what we're going to start with right now is we're going to queue up Jim and a little video that we've got about what we've been up to, and we're going to really kick this thing off. So let's start the show, let's get the event going, and let's really kind of dive into what Perdue's been doing from an animal care standpoint.
It's been 4 years since we announced our Perdue commitments to animal care, a journey of listening, learning, and evolving. Our commitments were molded with input from diverse stakeholders, including some of our harshest critics. We continue to seek their input today and are also learning from a wide range of perspectives, whether they be farmers, our associates, advocates, customers, or consumers. We're eager to share with you some of the recent progress on our journey of continuous improvement. For example, we're expanding the number of farms with free-range outdoor access for our chickens. We're testing the feasibility and benefits of on-farm hatching to improve early chick care. We've been collaborating in a first-of-its-kind animal welfare research project with the group Mercy for Animals. In collaboration with our farm partners, we opened our third poultry learning center, viewing farms which offer a transparent, interactive experience to learn about poultry farming and proper animal care. This year, as we navigate the global pandemic of COVID-19, we're hosting our fourth Animal Care Summit virtually, bringing together animal care experts and advocates, customers, farmers, and our company leaders responsible for Perdue's ongoing continuous improvement. Through our commitments to animal care, we'll continue our work to influence and change the culture in our industry around animal care through an ongoing dialogue and partnership with all of our stakeholders. We're excited about where our journey will take us next, together. Thank you for joining us for our annual Animal Care Summit and for being on this journey with us.
Hey, and welcome back. So great update from Jim just now on the work we've been doing from a highlight standpoint. We'll do a little bit of work now, talk to you about we'll really get into the content part of the discussion. And back in 2016, when we started on this journey, we came up with a 4-part plan that we thought was going to help us kind of describe what it was that we wanted to get done and really what it was we wanted to change with the way we thought about our animal care initiatives. And it had 4 parts. The first part was we're going to think about and talk about and work on improving things for the chickens. We're going to really embrace our relationship with the farmers, our farmers, and do a better job of bringing them into this part of the process. Bruce is going to talk about that coming up, I think. And then we were going to be really transparent. Everything that we're doing on this journey, we are going to share along the way. And today's a great example. We also post all this information where everybody can find it up on sort of various forms of our website as well. And I think we'll do a better job even in the coming year on a more regular basis, trying to blast some information out to everybody who's interested as well. And then we're going to continuously improve. And Bruce will talk about that during the process as well. So over the last 4 plus 5 years, we've had a total of 68 what we call initiatives. So you're going to see a scorecard. We actually are going to grade ourselves against these things that we said we were going to do. And it's not always perfect, right? It's green, yellow, red. We've got some greens, good. We've got some yellows, we've got some reds. And part of being transparent is talking about the stuff that we didn't get done just as much as talking about the stuff that we did. So you'll also get the chance to see from Bruce. We're going to announce our new initiatives for the coming year as well. So you get a readout and a scorecard of how we've done, and you'll get to see where we're headed. And I know, stop talking, we want Bruce. So he's going to dive right in. So get ready, fasten your seatbelts. Here comes Bruce Stewart Brown, my partner in crime.
I'm going to run through the 11 initiatives for 2020. They, for the first time, involved a couple things. One, they involved a project in breeders. The second kind of newer thing was one of these projects was actually done in collaboration in concert with an animal care advocacy group. So those two are really first for us, and you'll see the explanation of that. It's also important to know that the initiatives are categorized in the area of chicken farmer transparency and continuous improvement, the 4 important parts to our program. Most of the initiatives of the 68 we've done over the years, 41 of them have been in chickens. Seems appropriate. It's a animal care discussion. Having said that, these other parts are really important as well. And we try to have initiatives in each of them as we go through the year because they help us accomplish and move through the better care for chickens, which is what this exercise or what this set of initiatives is all about. The first, I'm going to run through them one by one. Breeders, typically the way that we feed breeders has to do with at a certain point, like after 4 weeks of age, they go on a diet in order to keep them from getting too big and keeping them in a weight in which they'd be productive as parents and hens and roosters. So that has involved traditionally skipping a day of feeding them every other day, feeding them enough to get full, but not every day. And obviously, that sounds like it could be stressful, and it can be. That there is quite a bit of anxiety on the day that feeding occurs. So, an opportunity is to try to figure out how to keep their weight in control, but feed them every day. Sounds easier than it is, honestly, because you need to keep the calories at a relatively low level, and you need to feed everybody. So you have to have good feeding systems that allow the birds all to have access to feed at the same time and to get the amount of calories that they're allotted for that particular day. We did set up a trial around every day versus skip a day, and two criteria for the evaluation was to look at uniformity at 20 weeks, and then also to evaluate bird stress. The uniformity in this particular trial was quite good for the everyday feeding, 73%. We usually run between 70 and 80% on a good program, or a relatively good program will run between that. And so this was a successful um, um, result as it related to uniformity. Unfortunately, we couldn't tell that it was any less stressful, which is hard to believe. You'd think it would be. It's probably technique and perhaps even our ability to evaluate stress in this way. We did it by observing them and trying to understand how how much anxiety there was on the at the beginning of the feeding trial or the feeding day. And we'll keep working on this. I think there's opportunity here in everyday feeding. It's just going to take us some practice and some energy to get that right. Another objective was to try to understand the welfare benefits of getting a chick to food and water just as fast as we possibly could. Typically, a bird might hatch in the hatchery as early as 48 hours prior to going to the farm, and as soon as 6 hours going to the farm. There's a range, of course, in the hatcher when they come out of the eggs. An idea, a really cool idea, is to hatch them at the farm, take the egg at 18 days, put it on the farm, and let them hatch into the food and water, or hatch into the litter and have access to food and water immediately. The bird has an egg yolk when it's born. It's inside its abdominal cavity. The egg yolk is there for nutrients and moisture. So technically, or typically, people would say they got 3 days of feed and water in them. Having said that, what if you got a chick as soon as it wanted to eat and drink, it was able to? That's what this technique does, and you'll see this in the video, that they hatch whenever they want to, and then they eat and drink whenever they want to. And the opportunity there seems great and cool and worth pursuing. And so we built a on-farm hatch system in one of our research farms, and excited to get to know more about it. There's a number of things we've learned here, and we're continuing to learn as we do hatches in that farm. This was the initiative that was done with in concert with the animal advocacy group, which is typically our bigger welfare challenges are in birds with heavy weights, the 8 and 9 pound birds, especially in legs. They end up having quite a bit of breast meat, and they get a little bit tipped over. That puts a lot of pressure on their legs. If their legs are not just right, it can affect leg health. Having said that, our contention is that some flocks and farms seem to always have great legs in spite of the weight. And the objective of this initiative was to see if that was so, and then to go look and see what those farms are doing right. In the end, we looked at over 150 farms. We eliminated those farms that didn't have at least 5 flocks where we had gait scores. and we looked for the farm's average. And in this case, I've lined it up in kind of a histogram here, and you see the number of farms on the y-axis and the gate score on the x-axis. So there is one farm here that over 5 flocks had a score of between 1 and 2. This scoring system is you go in, look at 100 birds. If they're really good legs, there's no gait abnormality, they get a 0. A bird gets a 0. If there's a little bit of gait abnormality, but they move pretty well, that's a 1. And if there's significant abnormality there, they don't move well, they get a 2. So out of the 100 birds, you add all that up and you get this score, in this case from 0 to 12. So we have quite a number of flocks there that are down there between 0 and 4 or 5. And then, of course, we have the other thing, which is over 5 flocks. We have a number of farms that are, in fact, pretty bad and consistently bad. We believe both those are worth studying, and we should surely be able to find out what is going on those farms with great legs. What are they doing, and how do we do more of it? We, in 2020, pursued and accomplished getting trained and certified by a third party in poultry handling and transportation. This certification is the plaque that you see on the right, next to a couple other animal care associated practices, which is the one in the middle is the last bottle of gentamicin we ever bought in Perdue. It's in a glass box in my office from 2014. And the one on the far left there is meat meal and blood meal, something from 2013 that we eliminated from our feeds in an exercise that we often call all vegetarian diet, but it's really removal of animal byproducts. All 3 of those we feel pretty good about, and continue to try to keep little things from these projects to help us understand where we've been and where we're going. Culling's important. Everybody knows it. It's been forever. If you're raising chickens, you can't avoid the practice of culling, which is to remove birds that are unable to thrive and to do it for their good, to relieve suffering and it's actually the appropriate thing for the flock. The flock health is for animals that are not thriving and not thrifty. Remove them in an ethical and appropriate technique for euthanasia, and to protect the rest of the flock with that. The culling that we do, we train and work with farmers on this practice. We've become, I believe our farmers are doing a great job culling, but one of the things they tell us back often is, I'm going to do culling like you're supposed to do it, but could you possibly help us with chick quality such that the need for culling would go down? And we listen to that. We put a goal in place that is on this a line which says that we're going to put a goal out that says 15% less culls throughout the year than the year before. The blue line is what we did, and clearly we did not accomplish that at the beginning of this time period. Clearly we weren't meeting the goal, and the farmers were doing their part, we just weren't. But you'll see towards the end of the year or the end of this time period that we have now come in line with the goal. The culling practice and the goal are now aligned, and of course winter will tell the story. It's a harder goal to hit in the winter. Having said that, I feel good about the last several years. By the way, this line, to put it in kind of a simpler term, suggests that between 2 and 4 weeks of age, a really healthy flock doing well, still has culls associated with it. But if you do them routinely, you would be culling maybe 5 birds a day in a flock of 25,000 would be a really healthy number. The better you are at culling, the less birds that die on their own. Also, a fantastically good thing to have happen in for the bird as well as the flock itself. So this is the goal is less than 5 birds on in a day over this time period from 2 to 4 weeks of age. We expanded our outdoor access free range. We said we were going to be 25% or more as a company. That's a lot of free range. We had to do almost 800 houses, retrofit 800 houses with farmers that own these houses. We paid for it, of course, put pop holes in, get pastures set up. We followed the organic plan for our model, which is outdoor space is equal to indoor space. So these pastures are quite large. Every new free range farm, we actually put in the winner of the enrichment contest last year. The winners was the carpenter bench and the chicken tree. So 700 between 700 and 800 houses now have carpenter benches and chicken trees in them. So that's a cool component from last year. These enrichments that farmers worked on that work really well, we now have them in a large number of chicken houses, and that's a cool evolution for us. So lots of free range and lots. Our harvest land product is now free range, and consumer feedback is positive on the attribute of free range. We had a contest for free range. I've heard people make fun of pasture of free range programs, saying that yes, I see you cut a hole in the chicken house, but I don't see any chickens outdoors. And that can happen, honestly. You got to want chickens to use the range. You got to want to set it up so chickens go outside. We have some experienced farmers in free range, some of them as many as 10 years of experience doing this. So we asked them, how is it going? How's it going to get chickens outside? And could you tell us some things that you've learned over the years about pasture design and pop hole design and what it takes for chickens to want to go outdoors? 16 different farmers submitted their program and told us about their farm and sent us some videos because we asked them and we'd like to move those practices around. We are going to talk about this a little bit later in the program. You'll see the winner. I love this part about asking farmers to participate with us in animal care and to encourage them to lead us in things like enrichments and pasture design. This is working. We're going to do this again with newer farmers. You'll see in the future initiatives. We said when we began this that we are committed to 100% control atmosphere stunning. Every year we get more committed to the fact that this is the way to go in stunning. Really, you just don't have to see many systems like we have in Milford, Delaware, to understand that it's a real step forward, and not just for the chicken, for the associates in the plant as well. We've talked about this last year. We actually toured it during the Animal Care Summit, and people could see for themselves. So we are committed to continuing to put in new systems. We're studying the newer ones. Actually, as we moved on this, a number of other companies have moved as well, and the people making the systems are moving in design and actually cost of the program. So we are on track to select a second system by mid 2021, and we intend to do that. So it's slow, they're expensive, but we are really enthusiastic about. We have it in pigs, we have it in turkeys, we have one in chickens. We're going to continue to grow in chickens. Really like this evolving process. Another component that's really important about animal care is that you not only ask farmers for their opinions through contests or whatever, that you train flock advisors and farmers on different things associated with animal care, but perhaps even incentivize farmers. So we set up a incentive program in one of the operations that had to do with paw quality. This was an operation that was particularly poor in paws and really struggled to have farmer enthusiasm for the idea around managing for paw quality. So we put an incentive in that was um, is as much as could earn as much as $2,500 per barn per year. And you can see in this graph, paws got better. It's a really successful incentive. We're going to do more of it. One of the things we didn't get done was to accomplish a program associated with the Better Chicken Commitment and the auditing program. We are no less committed to the idea of raising chickens for the Better Chicken Commitment. Actually, we're enthusiastic about it. But having said that, the idea that we would write the program became maybe inappropriate. So we are still enthusiastic about it, and a program needs to be written. Hopefully, it will be written to step through the 4 different things that are important: enrichment, space, CAS, and breed, and give recognition and encouragement as a company or a program kind of moves through this. Because if you wait till all 4 things are done, people are just not going to be too enthusiastic about each of them. Each of them actually, in my opinion, deserves some recognition and enthusiasm, and to step through them one at a time or to move through them in sequence, it will get it done, as well as kind of celebrate each of these ideas as it relates to animal care. We had 10 initiatives in the continuous improvement area. I've listed them here. We have made really good progress in a number of these. For instance, paw health and public engagement and space, actually, giving chickens more space. Every year we figure out the value of these different things and keep moving forward on them and reporting on them. Our farmer relationship is improving as well. We have a commitment to farmers. We want the farmers to choose us. We want the best farmers raising our chickens. So there are a number of things about our farmer relationship I feel better about every year. Activity the measurement of activity is difficult. We need some technology to move along. We're still enthusiastic about encouraging normal activity. We also are we are enthusiastic about training chicken behavior for our flock advisors and those that are in and around chickens. COVID slowed this particular project down, but we'll get to this and we'll get back to this. It's important to watch chickens and to pay attention to chickens and not just go to a meter and think you understand how the flock's doing without looking at them. So the picture is one of our viewing farms, or one of the farms that has a viewing window in. And this was put in by the farmer themselves to encourage folks that couldn't go in a chicken house or didn't have time to dress up. They could still see chickens, talk about chickens, sit down and see them for as long as they wanted. I really like these opportunities to just sit and watch chickens, as do others. So those are the results of our 2020 initiatives. Really quickly, we'll have more information available on the website going forward, and you can bet we'll have further conversation around them. I'd love to talk to any and all of you about what we got done, what we didn't get done. We are saying here that we have 10 initiatives for next year. Several of them are continuations from last year: the Heavy Bird Initiative, the On-Farm Hatch, the Free Range Part 2 contest, This is new farmers that are newer into pasture and to get them thinking about getting chickens outside. Um, we will also be working hard on cull, on reducing the amount of birds that need to be culled. We're working with young farmers because they have special needs. We intend to initiate a young farmer development group and expand our animal care initiatives into a second operation. So we've done a lot, not enough, or not as much as we can and should and will continue to do. You can see here that we've said 10 things. There's probably 10 more sitting there that we'd like to get to as well. But next year we'll be reporting on these, and you'll see more from us as it relates to initiatives. So thanks for sitting, paying attention and following us and what we do. And thank you again for all the feedback we get on these, and we look forward to more conversations about them.
Woo, Bruce, you've been busy. If we weren't social distancing, I would like dab the sweat off your forehead. Nicely done. But we're going to jump right in, and we've been getting some questions kind of as this has been going on. Keep sending them in if you want to. I'm going to watch you. If we don't get great questions, Michael Billings, I know you're out there. You better send in something smart, okay? But Bruce, first thing up, actually got a bunch of questions about culling right out of the gate, and I'll let you bundle them all. Maybe some of the stuff we heard. I'll give them back to you. What are the forms of euthanasia that we use? What are some of the standards and endpoints that might mean a bird has to be culled, and why is it harder to achieve the goals in the winter?
Good. Yep. Culling for our form of euthanasia, we usually almost exclusively use cervical dislocation. It's instantaneous and can be done by many after some proper training, and so we use that everywhere, and works really well. The culling kind of problem in the winter tends to be associated with the fact that brooding is somewhat more difficult in many parts, in many climates. So it's not just chick quality associated with culling between 2 and 4 weeks of age. It can be. It's also kind of that the component of the first couple days, 2, 3, 4 days, getting birds off to a start. So we struggle with that more in the winter, and the third piece was, what was the other part of that?
Last one, I think you actually got them all. Why would we cull a bird, and what are the forms of
culling
euthanasia?
criteria. I think you were asking a little bit about culling criteria. It's a bird that's unable to get to food and water and on its own. Is basically those birds that cannot thrive or are not thriving in the house, continue to lose weight each day, are culled.
Okay. So next up, actually a couple questions, and I'll bundle them as well for you, Bruce, about veggie fed. First is just curious about our decision to do that. I know you talked about it and had the meat and bone meal that you showed us. And then actually, so that's kind of part one. But part two is, so we're really encouraging the chickens to go outside, out on pasture, out on grass, doing things that normal chickens do, which include eating bugs and insects and things like that. So is that veg fed still, if they're out there doing that as well?
Yeah, so why veggie fed? Because first of all, there are things associated with animal byproducts that make NAE quite difficult, or more difficult, I should say. And some of the reason to get rid of the animal byproducts has to do with our success in not using antibiotics. It puts animal byproducts can get rancid at some point. Sometimes the quality varies, and and the people that use them do everything they can to kind of stop that. But in the end, if you want, at least in our opinion, to run an NAE program really successfully, the best thing is to take animal byproducts out of the feed. They also carry some things that we just as soon not worry about. They tend to be high in bacteria at times, and yes, of course, you can cook that out of it, but but again, it's just one less thing to worry about, really, and that's a really good reason to be all vegetable diet. We say fed an all vegetable diet. So if an animal or a chicken goes out in pasture and picks up a bug, we're talking about the feed associated with what we feed. So an all vegetable fed or a no animal byproducts in the feed is what we're kind of aimed at.
Good. Yeah. Look, sometimes a technicality is actually a good thing
Hmm.
with the way that we do it, because we certainly don't want to discourage that kind of behavior. The next question is brilliant. It's only because it's a question I asked you when we first talked about sort of the presentation, which is how are you meant that comment about anxiety, and I think it was in the skip a day feeding. What's the measurement process for that? How did you kind of come to that conclusion
Yeah,
through the research?
it's a real hard thing to do these two feeding programs and go which one is more stressful than the other. And we'd like to do it through observation and I know there's research opportunities to do blood, kind of things and do some kind of blood chemistry pieces. We did not do that. We were interested to see if behaviorally we could measure and decide which one was associated with less stress at the time when the feed is presented to the birds. So obviously and clearly, it's a little bit opinion, and it's one of the things I said in the overview. I'm not sure we are good enough to kind of pick up that piece and need to kind of work on that technique, which we're going to do. We're going to get it work on the technique associated with evaluation of stress during the feeding time, and then go again on that kind of idea.
Okay, thanks. So there's a question here, and I'm gonna twist it just a little bit. It's a question about stocking density, but I'll broaden it a little bit, Bruce. We've talked and spent a lot of time in this event in prior years talking about space, and that's also a component of the Better for Chicken initiative as well. So how are we doing? What are our standards? How is that part? I mean, it wasn't part of the update this time just because we've done a lot of work on it in the past. What's up there with space?
So we measure space a number of ways, but one of the most common ways is the pounds per square foot at processing. And many kind of documents, many kind of welfare programs suggest that birds, a really good density to head for is something less than 6 pounds per square foot. We're about a third of our chickens at less than 6 pounds per square foot. That's about three times what we were 10 years ago. So we are increasing the number of birds at less than 6 pounds. If you go to 6.5 pounds, we're almost half the chickens at which we raise are less than 6.5 pounds per square foot. So it's all about pounds per square foot, and it's about trying to understand how we can give chickens more space and what the benefits of that are, and how, and another thing is farmer feedback as it relates to increasing space, because what we don't want to do and what we're not going to do is decrease farmer pay associated with those kinds of practices.
Okay, nice, cool. Well, look, here's another, actually, it's a neat question, and one that I want to hear about as well. So we, just so everybody knows, we love the controlled atmosphere stunning systems that we currently have in place. I think that Milford has been really successful, but I know, Bruce, you and your team have looked at more alternatives. You talked about that a little bit in this process. The specific question was about low atmospheric pressure stunning and whether or not we had any interest or knew much about that process.
So we have looked at low atmosphere stunning, and I think I've been to three times. I've gone and looked at the system, trying to understand the ups and downs of it. And honestly, from a welfare perspective, it's relatively friendly. From a animal or a meat quality, a kind of uh, a piece associated with the quality of the chicken that you get after that is quite bad. There is quite a bit of struggle after loss of consciousness, lots of broken wings, just a number of things associated with that system that maybe the stunning part goes okay, but the resulting kind of processing quality components are are just not going to work, at least as it's currently designed.
Okay. Hey, Bruce, one more. And look, thank you, everybody. I've seen a bunch of the questions. There's a ton of them out there. We might need to figure out a way to get some of these kind of answered after the fact. Last one, Bruce, a little bit of time left. With using alternative breeds, and that's kind of a big thing. We've seen some of the research that's just starting to come out that we're excited about. Are you going to explore alternative breeds of broiler breeders as well? So not just sort of, but are you going to get all the way, we're going to push our way all the way into that part of the business also?
We have. We have done that, and anxious to do it, excited to do it. At least at the parent level, we've had some different breeds in the breeder house, both males and females. They are a different animal. They tend to pile litter like crazy, dig holes like crazy. If you're into kind of even floor surfaces and litter, you're not going to get that. These birds are very active, but interesting and fun, and the fertility on them is quite good. So yeah, we're interested to be not only in the alternative breed business at the meat bird level, but also at the parent level.
Excellent. Thanks. All right. So again, couldn't even get to all of them, and we'll think about a way to kind of to do that, but we need to move on. I will put a plug in for Bruce. He's really sensitive about this. You're going to get a chance later. You're going to get a chance for a survey about how did we do in all the presentations. Score him high. It's important. He's got a big ego. Anyway, we're going to move on.
That went a different way. That went a different way than it usually does. It's usually vote for Mark, vote for Mark.
So next up, and this group needs no introduction from us, Mike Levingood. You'll see it at the bottom down here. He's got like the longest title in the company, but he takes care of both our farmers and our animals, and from a welfare and advocacy standpoint. And he's got a group of 6 super exciting farmers that are passionate about what they do. He's going to lead a panel discussion with them. So get ready, because after the panel discussion, Q&A with the farmers led by Mike after this. So Mike and this great group, take it away, please.
So good afternoon. I'm Mike Levingood. I'm the Chief Animal Care Officer and Farmer Relationship Advocate for Perdue Farms. It's my honor to present to you the farmer panel for this year's 2020 Animal Care Summit. I've been very fortunate the last 4 years to set up here and talk with farmers at the summit. It is, for me, it's a highlight every year to do this, and it's going to be no exception this year. As Bruce mentioned earlier, in one of our initiatives for last year was free range. So we thought that the best thing we could do is bring some farmers in to talk about their experience and expertise with raising birds on the range. We're fortunate to have a farmer with 18 years experience, all the way down to some farmers who just converted their houses to free range. We also, this has been a crazy year. We've all been dealing with COVID-19. And we thought, why we have the farmers here, we ought to ask what it's been like with COVID-19 and what impact it's been on their farms and what they've been going through. So we'll have that discussion later with the panel members also. But first, let me go ahead and introduce who we have today. So we have Amanda Hawkins. She is from Harrington, Delaware. She has been raising birds for 2 years, and all of her experience has been with free range. Our second panelist is Austin Good from Lancaster, PA. His farm has been raising chickens for 57 years. His grandfather started raising birds on the farm, and now Austin works on the farm, and they've been free range for the past 6 years. We have Beth Jernigan from Windsor, North Carolina. Her farm has been in the family for 31 years raising poultry. She just retired and is now raising the chickens the past 2 years, and one of those years has been with free range. Alvin Warner is from Milford, Delaware. He's been raising poultry for 43 years. 40 of those years have been with Perdue, and the last 4 years has been with free range. James Martin is from New Holland, PA. He's been raising poultry for 30 years. He was one of the first free range farms 18 years ago with Culling. Kim Eiler is from Cromwell, Kentucky. She has been in the business for 7 years and has had free range on our farm the past year. So I think we have a great panel. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions.
First question, well, let me just kind of summarize that, most of you have raised birds the old way. So, keeping them inside their entire lives. Now we're giving them the opportunity to go outside on the range. So we want to really dig deeper into that and see what you experienced, knowing both sides of that. So first off, let's just ask a simple question. What's the big difference you've seen when you used to keep birds inside that now they get to go outside?
It's been exciting for me because I was about ready to hang it up, and we went into the organics and range-fed birds or range birds. And so anyway, to get to see those birds go out during the day, when you let those birds out, they're just like letting your kids go out to the playground. They're able to do a little bit of something that they want to do, whereas in the old way, we pretty much controlled their environment. Now they're kind of back to natural, and they're kind of excited about that. And our houses have shared pasture, and when they share that pasture, I'm not so sure that they don't go over to the other house and visit their brother, sister, or cousin, or whatever, maybe their girlfriend. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Warner. So let's jump to somebody who's just started out to see what the reaction was. So Kim, how about you? I've only seen it for just this past summer.
It is, I think this has been a great thing for the birds. They are in their natural habitat. They absolutely love the sunlight. I see them sleeping in the yard all the time, basking in the light. My girls love it. I catch my 8-year-old standing on the side of the fence all the time, watching the birds and laying in the grass, like watching them. Like she'll be like a cat out there in the yard, just laying down watching the birds, and she has fun with it.
Okay, awesome. Austin, how about you?
I think
Any
it's
difference?
nothing but positive for the birds. They definitely enjoy going outside, especially when it's cooler. And I agree with Mr. Warner. You got to be consistent and persistent. They seem to establish a behavior. If you open them, we close them in the evening so that when it gets dark, they see the light in the house and come in. But during the day, they like to be outside. And when you open it up, it doesn't take long for a lot of them to go outside if the weather is permitting.
Let's dig into the next two subjects, and I'm going to start with you, Amanda, on this one. So let's actually focus this time just on the farmer, because this was a big change. You remember we had them all in, we all knew what we were doing. A little bit different for you because you started right out. But let's what's the positive or negative, Amanda, for the farmer on having these birds outside?
Well, really, for me, the best part of the day is when I open the doors. It's so exciting to see how many, I get up and how many chickens are going to go out today. And so I really enjoy that part of the day.
Okay, excellent.
The biggest thing, I think, the string trimming or weed whacking and mowing, there's more things in terms of like the shade structures. They are, well, for us, we have movable ones, kind of as pictured behind you there, that we can move around. Trying to mill around things and move things adds a little bit more work. There's some maintenance, but it's really not too complicated.
Okay, excellent.
We have, in the beginning, we wanted to keep it looking like a lawn. And the comment was made that maybe it shouldn't look like a lawn. Maybe it should look like a pasture. We do not mow next to the houses. We mow down the center. But allow that tall grass for those birds to play in, and I've enjoyed it.
The positive impact is, I think, community relations. When people drive past, I think it makes a good image for the outside birds and the roads that are accessible past chicken houses.
Well, let's talk about the chickens then. So, we talked about you guys, the farmers, a little bit. So let's talk about the chickens. So what positive or negative? And I think we've already heard some, but we'll kind of focus, right now on those. So what do you think's been the big positive for the birds?
I would say positive is the option to go out. Chickens are curious. We saw that growing even before we were putting birds out on the range. If you're working in a chicken house and you have tools, if they're small pieces, you got to keep track of them or birds will come over and take them. They're just naturally curious. So to be able to go outside allows for the bird to be in the grass, and you'll see them run at each other and almost scare each other.
Excellent.
But I think I have a happier and healthier bird now. And my philosophy of life is exercise, sunlight, nutrition, and rest. And these birds are getting that. The only concern that I have is I'd like to see every bird outside. I have no idea how long that bird that goes out first thing in the morning, how long that bird stays out, and or how many birds throughout the day actually get out of the house, what percentage actually come out of the house. I think it's a very positive for the birds. It's back to nature, basically speaking.
I think it's definitely healthier for them. I can remember back when I was young and my grandma used to say, you youngins get outside and get some sunshine. It'll help you stay healthy and strong and grow. And that's just what pops in my mind when I think about the chicks going out, is my grandma telling me to get outside and get some sunshine.
I would say it's been extremely positive for the birds. You know, they are in their natural habitat. Every bird that I see goes outside, scratches in the dirt and grass, and they're foraging for bugs, and just, you know, you see them picking in the grass all the time. So it's been a very positive thing for them, I think.
Okay, excellent. So I got a reverse question to ask, because you guys make me think about this, because we've been talking about it. So I want to throw this one out. So we've got X% of birds going outside. What do you think that does to the environment of the birds left inside? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, it definitely creates space. I mean, if the birds are outside, if you get, I don't know, 15, 20% outside, that remaining 80% has more room, has more access to the feed and water inside. Might make them a little jealous and make them go outside then later. But yeah, I think more space the better, in terms of square feet per bird, or access to feed, water outside, even light. I mean, there's windows on the houses already, but just like Beth said, it's always good to be outside.
So give us some of the reactions that your family, friends, community have had when all of a sudden they've seen, birds outside.
The neighbors are always asking questions, and we have put a couple pictures on Facebook, and got a lot of comments about that. And my friends and my communication with them, they just have question after question after question about it, and they want to know more about it, and they're excited the fact that those birds are getting to go outside. They think it's so much like a natural thing.
A lot of people from the public are just interested in asking questions, kind of what we're doing, why are they outside? It is something new, because most of the time when you see chickens outside, it's 5 or 10 in a backyard that somebody has, and not done at the level we're doing on our farms. So the most interesting question I've ever gotten was do I name them all? And with 8 houses and 20-some thousand birds per house, I can't possibly think of that many names. So I've got that question. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and just simply informing people what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Is there anything else we should be thinking of that we should be doing moving forward to help get more birds out in the pasture?
I couldn't say what we missed in for getting birds outside. We have all bases covered unless you think of some more. It all comes with the price sometimes, with more things to mow around or stumble across. But outside, I cannot think of anything that we can implement to help, in my knowledge.
I would think about an ornamental grass of some sort that gets some terrible height for extra shade that they might be able to get in and play in.
In thinking of something that maybe to explore would be the possibility of letting them out a little bit earlier. They are creatures of habit, and it just seems like by the time they get in the groove of, going in and out, it's all over. So, maybe if they could go out just a little bit sooner.
Okay, Mr. Alston, how about you? Any thoughts on getting more out so you can chase more in?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what else I would do, because it's nice to give the bird the option. And I would be hesitant to force the birds outside, because if you're maybe depriving them of the feed that they want inside. Yeah, that's a tricky, that seems almost like a double-edged sword, that we want the birds to have the option to go outside, which is what they currently have. And I'm not sure how much we'd want to be forcing them out, just simply because it's neat to see the bird kind of make up its mind. There's some that do want to just stay inside. Maybe that's, I guess, kind of like people too. Some of us like to be outside a lot, and some people like to be indoors. It's neat to see each of them kind of choose what they want.
All right. Well, you guys did awesome talking about free range. So let's take a few minutes and talk about the elephant in the room that we've all been dealing with since, last March, COVID-19, the pandemic. It sure has affected all of our lives, personally and agriculturally. So we thought we'd take a few minutes and ask you guys some questions on how it's impacted your farm. Hopefully we'll never have to go through something like this again, but you should always be learning, and we want to make sure we're learning through this. So I'll just start out. The first question is, how did the pandemic affect you and your family, and what changes did you have to make on your farm?
Not a lot changed for us in terms of the work we do. The only difference we saw is that the downtimes went out a little bit for us, and we did have one flock that we held a little longer. From what I heard, that was just processing issues, getting people to the plant. So from what I could tell, the demand for chicken was there, and we didn't see anything drop off from that. It wasn't like, as an agricultural product, we're not susceptible really to that ups and downs. There's people need to eat, and we are feeding. I mean, we're all feeding thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. So the fact that we are definitely essential did help and allowed for only minor interruptions, nothing too crazy or nothing too drastic that we had to do on the farm.
Personally, it was big for us. As far as the farm goes, the placement and the harvest dates were right on schedule, like normal. We were informed that there would be no depopulation into the organics. And the Milford plant, we're within a mile and a half of the plant here in Milford, and they I think they were only closed a day or two at the most, but we're just thankful it didn't affect the farm operation at all.
Okay, thank you, sir. So let's take it down a little bit to the actual crisis. So I want to get a sense from what you think Perdue did right during the crisis.
I mean, it seems like everybody wasn't as affected as kind of the stories we've heard. And so I don't know specifically what was done right, but in terms of the birds, somebody mentioned depopulation. I've heard that other houses had to do that. And from what I was told, there weren't any within at least the organic side that had to depopulate at all. And I know there were certainly competitors that were doing that, other chicken growers. So something was done right. I'm not sure who's in charge of what in terms of getting the plant running, getting people there for processing. And I think those people deserve congratulations for doing the right thing. I think it also showed how quickly a larger company can actually make adjustments when needed. I think there's a stigma that adjustments can't be made on the fly and that it takes weeks for any decisions to be made, but Perdue did respond very rapidly.
The one thing that I thought was really fantastic was they gave us a waiver because we're part of the food chain, that we it was a certificate or a waiver that we could carry with us when we traveled to go get parts and et cetera on the road in case we got stopped and asked, why are you out? And so I appreciate they having that waiver to do that, and also thankful for what they did in the plant. I didn't see it, but I do know that I was told that they had reconstructed things so the workers could work in the plant as well. Next to one another, there was plastic put up and et cetera. So I think they did a good job on that.
Okay. So what I like to do in this question is, what have people said to you about being labeled essential workers? Have you heard any negatives? Have you heard any positives about being labeled as essential and to keep going on doing what we're doing?
Really, for our family, there was a sense of pride that we are contributing to, in such an uncertain time when the media is portraying, food shortages, that, we're in the down and dirty and getting it done, So we were very, very thankful to do our part.
Well, we have to keep in mind that, people have to eat every day. And so, the people that I communicated with and the people around me, my neighbors, were very, very excited that we were keeping on, that we were still processing, that we're still growing chickens, that we're not depopulating. I went to the grocery store during that time and right after the start of that, and, you couldn't find toilet paper, paper towels, dish detergent, all that kind of stuff, any cleansing products, Lysol. You go to the meat counter and boy, they were bare. You could only get one of this and one of that. And if they had it, and, but there was, in the process, people thought they wasn't going to be available, but thank God it was available, and Perdue provided for that. And there were also a couple cases where there was opportunities for people to buy quantities of from Perdue directly as individuals, maybe not our product, but Perdue's product. And so they were very excited about that. I know some people that picked up that opportunity as well. So they were excited that they thought very highly of us farmers then. Most of the time we're on the bottom, but they thought very highly of us doing that because we were still producing food. And they saw that it was going to be some soon. So,
yeah, as far as the essential versus non-essential question, I think most people who I talked to essentially said it was a no-brainer, right? I mean, we're part of the food supply. We're growing the food, we're raising food, and it's 24/7. When an alarm calls that your temperature's off at 2 a.m, you got to be there. We actually just had 3 houses go out this morning, and the catching crews were here at 10:30 last night, 1, and then 3:30 this morning. So it's been a long day, but that's what we're used to. We all work hard, as Kim said, and there's chickens here pretty much all the time. We're not working from home just for a time. We're kind of always working from home. We are working here on our farms. A lot of us live on the farm, so it is a full-time job, and it doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. We don't clock out. And so I think people really start to respect that when they saw what we are doing.
My family and neighbors were definitely concerned that, we were going to not get chicks, and what was going to happen with Perdue, because Perdue actually employs, most of Bertie County, definitely, and here in Lewiston, and they were concerned about that. But, you've got to eat, like they said, and, they did a good job being able to work around it where, they were able to keep the plant going. And I thought they did a really good job, and I was thankful that, we were able to stay around.
So, we're part of the food chain. Some of you guys mentioned that earlier. So let's get personal. Let's go ahead and what does that mean to you to be part of this food production system, in this crazy, crazy time of COVID over the past 6 months?
Being part of the food chain. So I guess as a little background, I spent a couple years working as an accountant in Philadelphia. Vastly different world and vastly different people I interacted with. So I felt it was almost my duty to inform people who I worked with in the city of Philadelphia that might not see the agricultural side. It's a concrete jungle. And so to understand where stuff comes from, I think when we talk about empty shelves and stuff not in the stores, it gets people worked up, but it also allows people to ask the right questions as to, well, where does it come from? How does it get here? Right? There's a backstory to it. There's a supply chain that gets there. So those conversations have been fun, and it's interesting to talk to people who are now more aware of it, since maybe they didn't have it. We always say you don't know what you have till it's not there. And this was definitely one of those situations.
I mean, it might not have anything to do with it, but we had a livestock market where we bought and sold livestock, and we've always been in the business. We had a grain business where we sold grain actually to Perdue. We bought and sold grain before we retired and took over to chickens. So when we started raising chickens, it still made me feel proud that I was doing something to help feed America and make sure everybody has plenty of food. I've always took a pride in trying to take care of someone else. And I do feel like I'm doing that by raising chickens for Perdue.
Well, I hate to use the term being proud, but there is a sense of pride in being a part of everybody's part of their day, consuming food products. And it's just a sense of pride knowing that you're supplying a product that people use every day, whether it be poultry, milk, beef, vegetables, or whatever, fruit, whatever. But, and it's a sense of pride to be a part of the program that I'm in. I've grown a little bit of everything for Perdue, roasters and small birds. I didn't do the Cornish, but to be a part of the program that I'm in now there's a little bit of pride involved with that. And knowing that I'm supplying something in a time when, and working in a time and getting paid in a time that a lot of people aren't. They've lost their jobs, or they just, it's hard for them to survive. And so I've lived a good life. I've enjoyed it. I've done what I wanted to do. So I want my chickens to do what they want to do. It's kind of the way I look at it, So there is a bit of pride involved in supplying food to everybody's daily diet.
Awesome.
And over the years, I've fed a few people.
I bet you have.
I think it was a time, when sometimes you get the day-to-day and you don't stop to think about the grand scheme of things. And it really was a time to reflect and remember that you are, a vital part of the food chain, supplying the chickens. And so it's just a nice reminder that, what we do is important, and that, we're really feeding hundreds of thousands of people potentially. So that was really a good motivator, I think.
Each and every one of us has a passion for this, to be doing what we're doing. And, it's not something that I believe any of us woke up one morning and said, I want to be a chicken farmer. I think it's a passion that each and every one of us shares. And I remember when I started, I had a 6-month-old baby and a 6-year-old, and then a 3-year-old too. But, and as they grew, I remember explaining to them, what we was doing, and that we was feeding America. And my oldest one, I remember going to Walmart one day, and we was getting chicken, and there was a customer beside us grabbing some. And I remember her looking over and saying, "That's my chicken. That's my chicken." And I'm like, Kayla, you can't do that. And she looked over at me and was like, I'm sorry, am I taking your chicken? And I was like, no, we're Perdue farmers. We raise that chicken. And my girls are so passionate about it. They're so proud when they're asked at school what their family does. I mean, they're very proud to say, we're Perdue farmers and we grow chicken for you. So I think each and every one of us has got a very strong passion for this.
So awesome. All righty. Well, you guys are awesome. So we really appreciate what you do. And it sounds like 100,000 Americans appreciate what you do, because we feed a lot of people. So thank you very much.
Mike, can I add something?
Absolutely.
During the pandemic and at the start there, when things really got bad, the shelves got bare. Some of my contacts, people that I see and know real well, want to know what age my birds were they big enough to eat? And, I said, well, not big enough just yet. But they said, well, we may have to come to the Warners for a meal. I mean, they were serious because they had been to the store and they couldn't get what they wanted at the store, and they were serious. And so that kind of led me to believe that they really kind of thought a lot of me doing what I'm doing. Made me feel kind of proud in the situation.
So listen, I'll call this open mic. So is there anything else you guys would like to say?
I think it's neat that it's a lot of farm families. And that's something that I think needs to be shared because people often question the scale of what we do. And I mean, Kim says she has 10 houses, but she's got her kids that are working with her and family members. And I think Amanda talked about her mother, was it maybe coming over? And
My mom,
so,
yeah.
So it's neat to see different people have asked and been like, oh, why can't you just have like 15 in the backyard? And why can't everybody just have a few chickens and basically take care of themselves or their own garden, whatever it is? But to know that it wouldn't be feasible, we all do need to eat. And so the scale at what we're doing things and that it's still being family farms. For myself, it's my brother, my dad, and I. So people look at it and say, oh, you're a big commercial operation with a bunch of houses. And that's just simply not true. A lot of it is families working together, working to do something. Maybe they've just started it. They've taken the risk to try and make something work, or they've been doing it for generations. But I think people need to realize that the scale that we do things is to simply feed the people that need it. And it needs to be done. And there's a lot of farmers that are willing to do more than just a 9 to 5. I mean, Kim mentioned about, I don't think we all really were like, oh, let's sign up for working midnight to 4 a.m. when something breaks down, right? That takes maybe a different kind of person to do that. And I think it's neat to see the stories of the families all working together.
Wow. As always, our farmers just knock it out of the park. This is definitely the best part of my job. I get to spend a lot of time with farmers, and I've really enjoyed spending time with these 6 farmers and talking about free range. So I want to jump right in and let's get into the questions. And we really just had one question about COVID, and so I'll take that one and we'll answer that. We had a question of, did we have to depopulate any birds? We did not have to depopulate any birds. I think our farmers, our live staff, and our plant operations staff worked as a team, and we did a great job working through the early days of COVID. So hats off to all the team members of Perdue, and ultimately all the chickens went through the process properly. So it was a good deal. So let's hop into the free range. Had a lot of great topics, a lot of great questions. So for you guys, one of the first questions, and had multiple of these, I'm going to put them all together. It was a topic of, do we have predator issues when we put the birds out on the range? So Beth, you want to answer that? Or start off with answering that question?
Not a whole lot so far. Yes, we've had a hawk or two, a couple of possums get in and get a few birds, but not a whole lot of, not a lot of problems, but we have had some.
Okay, so Beth is new to the business, so we're going to ask somebody that's been with us doing this for a really long time. So Mr. James, how about you? You've been doing this longer than anybody.
What's the question again?
Mr. James,
Predator.
Predators. Yes, sir, predators.
Yes, I had a few. Every flock I got a couple I had seen that were torn apart or made the attempt to do. The birds that came and took a dive at them. But I just sort of roll with the punches and let it all play out.
Okay. Mr. Austin, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say for the majority, most birds actually realize when a predator's around. So the most we see is hawks or eagles that would actually be flying around, and we've even seen them sit on the roof of our houses. But the birds that are outside are keenly aware when another predator is around. and they often do go running back into the houses as the doors are always open. So they have the chance to go inside. They're not stuck outside at the mercy of a predator. So it's funny. It's actually interesting to watch when the birds see a hawk or an eagle around, they often go right to the doors. They might stay outside, but they're very close to the exit, so to say, to get back in the house.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So one of the questions that came up was, how do you entice birds to go outside? What do you do to get them outside? So Mr. Warner, how about we start with you on that question? How do you entice birds to go outside?
Well, first of all, we start with the ramps down in the house at 10 days. So to the doors that go to the outside, let the birds get accustomed to the ramp itself. And then when day 21 comes and the temperature is right outside, we open those doors and we get a little bit of activity. But the main concern that I have is to be consistent and persistent. And you have to realize that at 3 weeks of age, our set temperature in the house is 82 degrees. So we have a small window of opportunity in the summer months to be able to let those birds out at 3 weeks of age. But our main concern is to get those doors open as early as possible in the morning. They love to play in the wet grass. They like to play in the drinkers. They just like that cooler air in the morning. And as the day warms up, then they begin to move back into the house and kind of alongside the house. But we do not do anything to push them outside. We just have them to go out on their own. But we need to leave the doors open as long as possible and close them in the evening as late as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you, sir. Amanda, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think consistency is the key. You know, I try to be out at the chicken house by 7 o'clock every morning to open the doors when the temperature is right. And they're creatures of habit, and they learn that at 7 o'clock I get to go outside. So it really is just that routine every day.
Okay. Kim, do you have anything to add?
No, I would agree with everybody else. Consistency, opening the doors as early in the morning as you can and being consistent every day with it, and then closing them as late as you can.
Okay, excellent. So here's a question I think flows right into that one. So when do you guys see the most birds outside? You know, what time of the day? Kim, go ahead while you're.
First thing in the morning. They love the morning temperatures, I think. And they are usually waiting for the doors to open. As soon as you open the doors, they head out first thing in the morning.
Okay. Austin, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say definitely in the morning. And usually when it is summertime during the heat of the day, they'll actually come back inside the house where we would have cool cells and the shade, and they have water outside as well, but the feed and water inside that they often stay in there. We often see them in the evening as well. So the evening time and the morning time, they'll be out and the most active. And just to touch on what Mr. Warner said about getting birds outside, a lot of it's access. And if it's easier access, the birds will go out. That's what we've found. We've actually poured concrete ramps on the outside and have ramps on the inside. And that just makes it more convenient for the birds. They're kind of like us humans. Like if I have something 2 stories up in my attic, I'm rarely going to go up there and get it. But if something's easier access, I'm quicker to grab a snack from the refrigerator. So they're kind of like us humans. If it's easy access, they'll do it. And that's the encouragement that we provide.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we only have time for one more question. So there's a lot of concern that, we kept birds inside because we were worried about disease. So now we're letting them outside. We have LT on the shore, we have AI in Pennsylvania sometimes. And so we have these diseases. So do you guys worry about the diseases, and what do you do to help prevent them? So you go ahead, Austin, you can start. That's it. Let's try to hit everybody really short.
We're not too worried. We restrict a lot of access from people coming onto the farm. There's access restricted in that aspect. In terms of the like biohazards from either birds flying over, we talked about predators, but disease-wise, we're not a whole lot more concerned. We try and keep distance to a minimum. We make sure that other farmers who might have been in other houses or around other poultry or any kind of bird for that matter, any other fowl, we try and limit access.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Warner, how about you?
Well, we kind of step up our biosecurity, and I know our farm right now is at level 2 just because we're in the radius with the disease problem that's going on at the present time, LT. But we're concerned about limited access to it's an absolute necessity for a person to come to the poultry production area. Otherwise, they don't come at all. We don't allow family or friends or anyone to visit the farm unless it's an absolute necessity for them to be there.
Okay. So Beth, any follow-up?
I really don't have any concerns, with disease issues because the access to the farm is limited. So I don't really see a whole lot of, problems with that. It's just mainly the predators that I worry about, not disease.
Okay. Awesome. Well, again, you guys did a fabulous job. It's been a pleasure working with you, and we have lots of other questions, and just like all the other ones, we'll try to send out some answers to those questions. So I want to pass it back over to Mark to take us home. It's all yours, Mark.
Good deal. Thanks, Mike. I know you said you had the best job going out and working with the farmers. I listened to this panel, think how awesome they are, and think maybe you have the easiest job, but we can talk about that a little bit later. There's another part to this, and a lot of the discussion today has been about the free range and the access. Last year, and I'll work this into kind of both pieces of our business. We ran the contest this year specifically on this idea that for us, this isn't just put something on the package and see whether or not we can make a label claim. This is how do we do something that really works, that's authentic, and adds value from an enrichment standpoint for the birds. The other cool part about this is, just so you guys know, all of these farmers and like 800 more let us come onto their farms. We knocked holes in their barns. We put up fences for pasture. We asked them to do more work as part of this process, and a big shout out and thanks for them as that as well. So I know you guys want to hear the next part, which is who won the contest this year. So it's all about, again, how do we not just sort of open the doors and build the fences, but how do we actually entice the birds to use the outdoor access areas. So we're going to roll the video. You guys get to see the winner and some pretty exciting stuff.
I really enjoy watching the birds, and I really enjoy watching them run around outside and do what chickens do.
They just seem a lot happier to go outside. You just see hundreds of them flock outside.
To get the birds outside, I try to open the doors as soon as I can, weather-wise and age-wise, and leave them open as much as I can, depending on the weather. Once they get used to it, they clamor to get outside. When you open the doors, they pile out. I mean, it's like you're pouring salt out, you're pouring chickens out of the door.
The main impact to switching to organic, first it seems like a lot more work. Now we have to come over in the afternoons and do a couple extra things, but after doing it for a couple years, it is really nice to see them come out and just kind of enjoy being outside. It makes you feel good as a farmer.
Well, I find that the birds, when they're small, they like to be able to see well around them. So keeping the grass shorter, they feel more comfortable coming out. As they get older, they like taller grass better. And then I have planted peach trees and a couple of cherry trees inside the pasture, for shade, but also so that the fruit can fall to the ground, the chickens can eat the fruit, the chickens can eat the bugs that eat the fruit.
There's a lot of negative connotations with chicken farming nowadays, and so it always feels good to be able to tell people and show people that our chickens do get to go outside, and it just makes you feel proud of your work, really.
We try to take as good a care of our chickens as we can. We try to make sure that what we're producing is a healthy, safe product that is also grown with the highest standards of animal welfare. we do the best we can to take good care of the animals under our care.
Okay, so I know what you're all thinking, and it could be true, which is, look at Mark, you and Bruce and Mike have all by yourselves pulled off this awesome update for all of us on animal care. And yeah, it's not true. So you guys know the deal. Actually, I got to admit, this was actually, even this 90 minutes might have even been harder to pull off than the day and a half event that we've done in the past, and hopefully that we'll do next year as well. But Diana, Andrea, Bill C., Jim Perdue, Randy, Sherry Bridge, the farmer panel, Deverick back there in the back taking care of some of the technology for us. So big thanks to that group as well. I want to wrap this up today by calling out some groups and just kind of talking about sort of how we think about this journey that we're on and how you're on it with us as well. And the first is, there's hundreds of you out there right now that are Perdue associates. And I want to tell you a little story about something that we did, something that Randy did, something that Jim did a few years ago, which was, as we were talking about our Perdue values, quality, integrity, teamwork, and stewardship, we actually changed the stewardship value to talk about the animals that are in our care and our commitment to that as part of our values. And if you're in a Perdue office right now, you can probably look around your wall and see those up on the wall in the room. It's a mandate that it's part of what we do, and it's part of how we live and how we run this business, taking care of these animals. If you're a customer of ours, and there are actually over 100 of you or 120 of you on the call today, thank you. You're part of this process. You're really an important cog in what it is we're trying to get done. I always steal Bruce's thunder on this little anecdote, which is we often get asked, like, how can you go faster on this? How can you do more from an animal care standpoint? And Bruce always says, look, the best way for us to move even faster is for there to be even more demand for these kinds of products and out in the marketplace. So for you that are our customers, help us continue to drive this part of the process. Make these products available, help us educate the consumers about why they're important. Let them vote with their pocketbook about how they want to do business with people who treat the animals the right way. And look, I want it to be from us. That would be awesome. But if there's somebody else out there that's doing a good job, that's living up to these high standards, at least buy those products and make them available from those people as well. The other group is our advocates, those animal advocates, those people that challenge us every single day, those people that Bruce and I said 5 or 6 years ago, oh, I'm not going to call them, you call them. But we got on the phone, we started an engagement, we started a partnership, and we talked about the concept of continuous improvement. And you've pushed us and you've prodded us and you've been a partner with us and you've really helped us up our game. We appreciate it, and we hope that those discussions, that dialogue, and that relationship continues. In the sort of the spirit of what's going on out there right now, it's like we've reached across the aisle to work together on making things better for the animals that are in our care. And the last group, and it's the kind of the group that all of these guys always steal the show, and they should, which is our farmers. There's actually, there's thousands of you out there in our network. There's hundreds of you on this call today. The part that we keep saying, and the part that we're paying a lot of attention to at Perdue, is that, look, we talk about the animals that are in our care, but they're actually in your care. You guys chose, as a profession, as a way of taking care of your families, to take care of animals. And the fact that you do that in partnership with us, the fact that you want to share with us this journey that we're on, we truly appreciate. So that's it. Thanks to all of you that did this with us today. We'll try and get out sort of more information based on some of the feedback and the comments and the survey and all the rest of that. Somewhere down here is links of things that you can get to and ways that you can see more content that we did today. I hope next year we're able to do this the way that we want to, in person, spending some time face to face. I'm going to find my buddy Josh Balk. I'm going to give him a great big hug, and we're going to have a good time, and we're able to kind of get back on track and do this in the way that we've really enjoyed doing in the past. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.